Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, and great to hear a European perspective and also to hear from Laura. And I'll get back to what Hans was saying about the European aspect of all this, because it is important that we work together. But a lot has changed in the last year, and I'm very encouraged that when we talk to people and when I look at the trending Google searches and so on, that the idea of a circular economy is becoming much clearer to people, and that people are very accepting and encouraging and generally open to working with this idea of a circular economy. And to me, that's, it's in one way it's strange because our entire economic system is predicated on democratic regulated markets, and yet this is really a big turning of the ship towards an idea that enough is as good as a feast, or that you really can have overconsumption, and that hyperconsumption has very negative effects. And I guess with recent events, with climate change, we can see that one of those negative effects of overconsumption is pollution. And one of the other major effects is having very fragile supply chains. And with the recent war, the pandemic and so on, everybody can see, and huge energy prices as a result, everybody can see that the system that we have developed, which has been so successful at raising people out of poverty and delivering prosperity, is now beginning to creak at the seams, and we're reaching the limit of what you can do with more and more consumption and more product, and the idea that consumption itself is a measure of prosperity, that the more that you consume, the faster that you deplete your resources, the richer you are. I think people know instinctively that that isn't right, and we've managed to combine. It's an interesting political situation because I noticed we were getting support both from people who were progressive or revolutionary in their thought. We were also getting support from people who were conservative and looking back to the ways that their parents or grandparents ran their own household economies with their efficiency, and that those two things combined. And I was very happy that we got very broad support for the Circular Economy Act earlier this year. I see Les Carberry is in the audience, who was the civil servant, I suppose, who was in charge of helping get that circular economy bill made into an act. And also he was helped by Bernie Kiley and Catherine Higgins and all their team. And I'm very grateful for the long hours, because those things only happen when people kind of go the extra mile and stay late and do other things. And also, I'm delighted to be here with the agency, with the EPA, who would have helped develop the Circular Economy Programme last year, and the Circular Economy Strategy, which was published in December. So our Circular Economy Act, what it does is it puts those things, those Circular Economy Strategy, Programme, National Food Waste Prevention Plan, that it puts those on a statutory footing, so that when I'm gone, the whole system of the state is still there to support those, and there is a legal obligation on everybody to comply with that and to make sure that everybody across government is trying to deliver a circular economy. And I suppose the bit that captured people's imagination was coffee cup levy, and I guess that's because it's something which has a graphic element to it, or it's a vivid image, and it's something that you can conceive in your mind easily. But of course, it's only a very, very small aspect. But it's something that people can understand. It's something that happens in your daily life. But there will be much larger aspects to the Circular Economy Act and to the Circular Economy Strategy than merely small levies on individual products that cause pollution. And so having that, what we need now is we're at the stage where we've won the public support and mind share on this, and also the corporate sector and government sector. So we're in a strong position. So now we need to move towards having clearer metrics. And when you're trying to solve any problem, you need to be able to split it up. You need to be able to focus your attention on the areas which are going to bring the greatest return on investment. And of course, it isn't coffee cups. If I had to look at the circular economy strategy and say, well, at the circular economy bill and say, well, what is the area that's probably going to deliver the largest benefits? It probably is in construction and demolition waste. And the EPA, of course, has a role in that. And the law that we made this year is going to streamline the process of issuing these determinations for byproduct and end of waste. And I'm looking forward to seeing much greater quantity of our construction and demolition waste being returned back into the construction of more infrastructure, And it's critical that that happens right now because we've announced a 100 billion national infrastructure investment programme. So making sure that we do that in a way that is good for the environment or circular is absolutely critical. Okay, so I should really read some of the speech that you wrote for me. The National Food Waste Prevention Programme. So our goal is to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030, and that is in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It is, I believe, also an EU target, and although that's going to be our primary focus, and there will be a lot of detailed strategies to support that, we also have to consider what we're going to do with the residual food waste that's still going to be there. I went to visit a composting facility. I'm going to be down at the ploughing championships today, and the reason I mention that is that I know that farmers are paying multiples, 2, 3, 4 times what they paid before for chemical fertilizer because of the increase in the cost of fossil fuels, and there is a new appetite amongst farmers and amongst people in agriculture to find alternative ways to provide fertilizer for their crops. So there's a great interest in that, and there's also been a new announcement by government that we are going to invest heavily in anaerobic digestion in Ireland, and that we're going to look at those jurisdictions like Germany that are much further down the road than we are. So we're moving towards a position where we're going to reduce food waste greatly, but we're also going to look at the food waste that we do have and make sure that we're using it in a productive and circular way, and that we're keeping those resources within the economy. Looking at Hans, his presentation, he mentioned that the rate of circularity is very low, and of course he's referring to Europe, but Ireland is not good on our rate of circularity. Not something I've talked about a lot before, but when we look at the Eurostat numbers, we're not doing well, and probably a lot of that does relate to construction and demolition and how we handle those areas. So we have a statutory commitment in this Act to get above the European average for circularity, and we're going to have in the new circular economy strategy, which I think is coming out next year, that is going to be much more focused on metrics and action. So we're moving away, we're narrowing down from our big picture thinking and strategic thinking towards more objective and measurable measures. I also want to say that overall, I think that we're now we're really extremely well placed. We have that combination of, we have the public support, we have a statutory basis for what we're doing, we're linking in with Europe, and I think that, from one thing I'm really looking forward to seeing is the improvements in the Right to Repair Act. And I think that from the public's point of view, the ability that they will have when they go into a shop and they look at consumer products and they see that this washing machine will last for 6 years and this one will last for 12 years, and that's been measured by an independent agency, that will give people the agency to avoid built-in obsolescence. It will allow them to decide to make an investment based on something that's going to last a longer time. So I think that those efforts in the right to repair, in new labelling rules and so on across Europe, I think they are really going to help people to buy into this situation. We are creating a new circular economy fund, which is to replace the Environment Fund, and the central government will use that money to promote a circular economy and to give people a way forward, to give people the information they need to make that change in their life, and also to allow businesses to make the changes that they need so that their business becomes sustainable in the long term. So I think today's conference really important, bringing together people who are all working in this area, and also to give you a chance, I suppose, to figure out objectively what kind of measurements we need to know whether we're making progress on a circular economy. How do we measure that? How do we see what's succeeding and what's failing? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.